Hello and welcome back to Football Daily, where today we are looking at 10 footballers who stood up in the fight against racism. Footballers are seldom referred to as trailblazers these days, but one former professional who could claim to be one was West Bromwich Albion icon Cyrille Regis. Born in French Guiana in 1958 and moving to Britain as a 5-year-old, Regis would total over 600 appearances in a 19-year career in English football, also featuring for Coventry City and Aston Villa before retiring in 1996. In 1977, with black players still a novelty at the top end of the game, Regis made his debut for the Baggies and soon became part of the first trio of black men to regularly start in the First Division for a single club. Alongside right-back Brendan Batson and winger Laurie Cunningham, he helped pave the way for the acceptance of black players in top clubs. In an age without social media, Regis had to rely on his ability on the pitch to fight against the abuse coming from the terraces. Remembered as a strong centre-forward with over 150 goals to his name, his legacy was cemented with the unveiling of a statue in 2019 in West Bromwich, alongside his two former teammates, all regarded as pioneers for people of colour in English football. He may have established himself as something of a European journeyman, having featured for 8 different clubs in 4 countries since 2015, but Kevin Prince Boateng has remained at the forefront of the battle against racism on the continent. This all began in January 2013 whilst at AC Milan, and during a friendly against Pro Patria, racist chanting caused the midfielder to leave the pitch in protest, with his teammates following suit and the match being abandoned. After receiving praise and widespread support for his bold actions, a month later KPB was appointed as the first global ambassador for FIFA's anti-discrimination task force, before being handed a similar role with the United Nations soon after, even giving a speech to delegates at the latter. And whilst that was 7 years ago, in 2020 he's as active as ever. Currently a Fiorentina player, the 33-year-old has committed to setting up a Serie A anti-racism task force, and continues to work with FIFA on the matter as well. Having grown up with the mindset to ignore the abuse, even referring to himself as a coward at the time, the incident in 2013 sparked within him a passion to come out and lead the conversation in this battle. From KPB to one of his brother Jerome's former teammates Mesut Ozil. Breaking through at Schalke when he was just 18 and a regular for Germany by the time he turned 21, Ozil is considered amongst Germany's most technically gifted players for a generation. Ahead of the 2018 World Cup, a controversial photo op with the Turkish president won him no favours amongst the German public, and Ozil appeared to become the designated scapegoat as Germany crashed out at the group stages. Shortly after France lifted the trophy, Ozil released a statement on social media announcing his decision to retire amidst racist sentiments. A World Cup champion himself 4 years earlier, Ozil said that he had a feeling of racism and disrespect, and that he was only German when they won, but an immigrant when they lost, highlighting abuse he received after defeat to Sweden. The 5-time National Team Player of the Year winner continued to say that nobody came to his defence, calling out some of the biggest names in the DFB, with this statement drawing support from footballers and politicians alike. It also received criticism. Some say that just reaffirmed his case, as he still believes racism is a major problem in German society. To Italy next, where Ghana international Sulley Muntari spent the majority of his career. First with Udinese, going on to spend times at both Milan clubs. The incident that saw the midfielder enter the headlines though happened whilst he was with Pescara in April 2017. The then 32-year-old was booked after reporting the racist abuse he was receiving from fans towards the end of a match against Cagliari, and upon walking off in protest was then shown a red card. Whilst the FIGC saw sense and overturned the subsequent ban, that didn't stop Muntari from continuing to address the issue in public. It emerged that the abusers were a large group, but also contained a number of children. He had tried to reason with them, offering his shirt, but that had no effect on their actions. Muntari took to social media, in which he said, "I'm determined to fight racism. Football should inspire respect for one race, the human race." He also called out FIFA and UEFA for not taking racism seriously, and supported a notion that players should strike if either the ban wasn't overturned or the abuse remained an issue in future matches. Muntari left Pescara at the end of that season, and hasn't played in Italy since. Possibly the least well-known name on this list, Ahmad Mendes Moreira currently plays as a winger for Excelsior, who compete in the Eerste Divisie in the Netherlands. In November 2019, during a game against Den Bosch, Moreira was subject to racist abuse, leading to the referee leading the players off the pitch after half an hour. The match did continue after a 10-minute delay, with Moreira going on to score in a 3-3 draw. But that's not where the story ends. Den Bosch issued an apology after initially claiming the noises were crow sounds, despite the player saying he'd been called a cotton picker by fans at the stadium. The country came out in his support though. most notably with Memphis Depay demanding for action to be taken. Moreira, born in Rotterdam to a Bissau Guinean father and a Guinean mother, spearheaded a campaign which took place across the top 2 tiers of Dutch football the following weekend. Players in both divisions agreed to not play the first minute of their matches to draw attention to the problem, with the slogan, "Racism, then we don't play football," a rare example of on-the-pitch action across an entire league. He may divide opinion as a player, but there's no hiding the fact that very few players have experienced the levels of racism Mario Balotelli has since his Inter Milan debut. This isn't uncommon for black Italian footballers, but Balotelli's profile and maverick nature has seen him be singled out far more often than others. The first incident saw him abused by Juventus fans in 2009, which prompted the Nerazzurri owner Massimo Moratti to say he would have pulled his team off the pitch had he been present. Similar moments occurred during his time in Serie A, leading to him speaking out ahead of Euro 2012, then as a Manchester City player. Balotelli had always threatened to walk off the field should he feel directly attacked. And it all reared its ugly head again this season, as Balotelli, now at Brescia, was subject to racist abuse against Hellas Verona, to which his response was to kick the ball into the crowd and walk off the pitch, as he said he would do. 2 months later, Balotelli responded once more to racist abuse against Lazio. He thanked those who stood up for him, while aiming a shame on you message at the dissenting fans. No player has ever won more caps for France than Lilian Thuram, who played 142 games in a 14-year international career, winning the World Cup and the Euros in the process. But being born on the Caribbean island of Guadeloupe hasn't excused him from being the victim of racism. Since his retirement though, the defender has been very active, using his profile to fight the cause. He spoke out against Nicolas Sarkozy in 2005, 2 years before Sarkozy became the country's president, after the then Minister of the Interior made comments about those at the centre of the French riots being scum from poverty. Having grown up in an impoverished Parisian suburb, Thuram responded with, "If they are scum, then so am I." And speaking of the recent incidents in Serie A, the 48-year-old received more abuse himself for saying that white people believe they are superior, taking the attacks in his stride for continuing the debate. His activism even earned him a role in 2010 as a UNICEF ambassador for anti-racism. With his footballing career firmly in the rearview mirror, he's now using his platform for good, hoping to impact the lives of black people in France and beyond. Moving on to Hertha Berlin of the Bundesliga, we're taking a look at their team as a whole instead of any individual players. The story for this starts back in 2016, with the now well-known fate of American football player Colin Kaepernick. The then San Francisco 49ers quarterback famously took a knee during the national anthem throughout the season to protest racial injustice in the USA. A year later in 2017, and Kaepernick was without a job, as racial tensions in the US continued to grow, culminating in Trump's remarks that those who kneel during the anthem should be sacked. This led to a cross-sport support of the protest, seeing the likes of Megan Rapinoe and Steph Curry join the movement in solidarity with Kaepernick. Hertha Berlin took it one step further in October 2017, as the whole team took a knee ahead of a league match with Schalke, including club officials on the touchline. They said they stand for tolerance and responsibility and an open-minded world now and forevermore. Defender Sebastian Langkamp also commented, stating, "We are living in the 21st century, but some people haven't developed their ideologies. If we can give them a bit of help, that's good," in support of a now global movement. For those not as well acquainted with the women's game, Eni Aluko established herself as one of England's best strikers, playing in America and for Chelsea before finishing with the newly established Juventus side, winning Serie A. Aluko also accrued 102 caps for England, scoring 33 times. Her struggles with racism though came primarily with the Lionesses, and when she blew the whistle, time was called on her international career. Prior to 2016, Aluko approached the FA with complaints of racist behaviour by the national team head coach Mark Sampson and his staff. This included accusations of being spoken to in a Caribbean accent by her white coaches and suffering jokes about Ebola. Whilst the claims were investigated, no sufficient evidence was discovered, yet Aluko was paid £80,000 in return for her silence on the matter. She was never called up for the Lionesses again, and eventually went public with her legal dispute with the FA. The allegations were proven true, and Sampson was ultimately sacked from his role in September 2017. Aluko now finds herself at the head of 2 charges as a black female footballer, and as a qualified lawyer will undoubtedly be fighting her battles as long as she needs to. We end this list with perhaps the most prominent footballer fighting the cause at the moment. Manchester City's Raheem Sterling has been a target for the media since breaking through at Liverpool back in 2012, dividing public opinion as both a person and player. However, over the past couple of years, he has emerged as a leading role model for young black men, and all at just 25 years old. He shot to the front pages in December 2018 after receiving racist abuse from Chelsea fans, and instead of keeping quiet as he had previously done, he used his platform to speak out. He compared newspaper articles about teammates Tosin Adarabioyo and Phil Foden buying houses, with the language portraying Adarabioyo negatively and Foden positively. And since then, he's spearheaded the anti-racism campaign on social media. Sterling has also called for the establishment of a player-led anti-racism task force and even appeared on Newsnight in the wake of George Floyd's murder, supporting the current protests for Black Lives Matter. He said that he continued to spark these debates, get people in my industry to look at themselves, and think about what they can do to give people an equal chance. Whatever does change in this country, don't be surprised to see Raheem Sterling at the forefront. And that's all we have time for today, but let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, and subscribe to the channel for more great content. Bye for now.